Tobias too enjoys TV. He comes every day to watch a show with me. It is called The Young and the Restless. Really? Well, between this and Party of Five, Tobias has the shittiest taste in television. Quick, Axe, best change the channel. The Nanny is on.
We all know it's called Superbook. It shows us all the places that we want to go and look. Superbook.
So yes, let's get this out of the way. There is a literary basis for Axe getting invested in TV during the anti-TV episode My Name is Eric, and that's this book. Thankfully, this is not something getting in the way of the plot of the book like it did in the episode, instead opting to be a running gag where Axe takes what he sees on TV too literally, and whose favorite program are the commercials, which he calls these messages. And it's funny, the first time, not so much after the 9th. What should have remained an opening chapter gag is repeated ad nauseum till book end, to the point where you begin to wonder why you found it funny in the first place. And this brings up something I haven't really discussed in my reviews before, which is the actual storytelling craft involved. I haven't brought it up because Kay Applegate has been pretty consistently good about it. Her prose style is solid, her pacing is good, she knows when to linger on something and when to fast forward. Any problems I had with the past books were usually ones involving story, or character, or internal logic, not style. That changes with the ghostwritten era, because some of these books are rather poorly crafted, and this is the first real example of this. Today's ghostwriter is Amy Garvey. She's been pretty busy lately writing romance novels, a few with supernatural elements to them, but I can't find a single credit to her name prior to Animorphs, so she might have been very green going into this. I'm not sure, but the end result is a book with a lot of problems. Axe and Marco are walking to the mall to buy Axe a TV guide when they're stopped by a talking FedEx truck. It turns out it's Eric, dropping some exposition. "A Federal Express truck?" Marco said. "Isn't that copyright infringement?" Eric formed a metallic smile. "They can call my lawyer. He was Moses' law professor. The Chi are also very, very long-lived." Wait, hang on. You guys were around during the events of Exodus? Well, damn, this opens up so many questions. I mean, just how accurate is the Bible? Were you guys witness to any miracles? Any of the plagues? The parting of the Red Sea? Was it the Red Sea or the Sea of Reeds? What about the Ten Commandments and the Ark of the Covenant? I mean, the existence of the elements in the Krayak have been directly challenging my theological beliefs, and they say there's very little evidence supporting the events of Exodus. But here I am, living in the same town with a whole group of eyewitnesses to a major biblical event. I mean, let's go... What? What's that, Scholastic? We can't go in that direction? Parents might get upset if we talked religion. Well, then why bring it up if you won't allow us to explore the implications of it? No, I don't want to do the stupid hamburger plot when I can confirm the existence of God this very afternoon. Don't wave that contract at me. I mean... Fuck, fine, but you'll be hearing from my agent. So Eric says the Yeerks have recently acquired an animal testing facility and meatpacking plant. He doesn't know what they're doing with them. He doesn't know if there's any urgency in dealing with them. He is just turning into a FedEx truck and listing recent real estate purchases. Wouldn't it be more proficient to just write the Animorphs a weekly newsletter? Marco sighed. You know, Eric, bumping into you is never a picnic. Why do we care if the Yeerks want to make burgers for a living? I don't know, Eric admitted. Maybe you don't care. But the Yeerks wouldn't be this secretive. There's nothing to worry about. Well, yeah, of course the Yeerks are secretive. They're Yeerks. That's their gimmick. If you mean they're secretive within their own ranks, that is pretty odd, since we'll later learn that nothing they're doing really screams top secret. Marco and Axe deliver the message to the rest of the Animorphs, and they ponder over what the Yeerks could possibly want the facilities for. Not to poison people. There are easier ways to kill us. So if you haven't figured out by now, this is a book about how humans treat animals. This is also a book where Cassie isn't written by Jeffrey, the ghostwriter of 25 the Extreme. So we're opting for the default model Cassie, the one I hate. And since this is the animal cruelty book, you know we're going to have a lot of fun with her. The Animorphs fly to the lab to scout it out, and discovers the entire place is covered in a force field that'll kill anything that touches it. Because nothing says inconspicuous like a ring of dead birds around your establishment. Look, I'm all for extensive security, but just plopping some alien technology like this out in the open is just going to draw attention to yourself. This is the kind of place where someone from the Animal Liberation Front or Animal Rights Militia might try and break into. So when one of them gets shocked dead when trying to climb over your fence, you're going to bring so much media to your door it's not even funny. Sure, you can turn off the force field before the place is investigated, but why bother with this hassle? Especially since we'll later learn you never needed this lab in the first place. So the only way to get in is on one of the trucks that come by every day carrying a shipment of chimpanzees. Ax and Tobias spend a day mapping the truck's route and come up with a plan. A plan that does not involve sneaking onto the truck at its starting point. Oh no, that would make sense and minimize risk. No, the plan is to follow the truck in bird morph, land on top of it, wait till it drives through a tunnel, demorph, climb down from the top of the moving vehicle to the back, open the door, slip inside, acquire the chimps, get 6 of the chimps off the truck into public, close the door and morph chimps. This is the first plan they consider. This is not a plan A. This is a plan D when plans A and B and C have all failed. It's needlessly dangerous and an awful huge chance for exposure. In fact, 3 people do see them. One guy who spots them demorphing on top of the truck, causing him to crash into a telephone pole. One person who pulls up behind the truck as they're climbing down into it, who finds the stunt amusing but drives off without seeing how it ends. And then the family behind the truck at a stoplight when the Animorphs release 6 of the chimps. You know, chimpanzees are not the safest of animals, and you just threw them at a car with children inside. What's that I hear? The sound of faces getting ripped off? In any case, you have a handful of eyewitnesses that could become controllers at any point. I give this plan a D grade, only because it actually worked. And then, as they acquire and morph the chimps, well... The chimp paused again, considered, pursed its lips and grunted. Without warning, it grabbed Cassie's wrist. But Cassie is not easily bothered by non-human animals. Her other hand shot out and grabbed the chimp's enormous hand. Cassie focused, and the acquiring trance calmed the animal. But Cassie herself was not entirely calm. She looked troubled. I could not tell why. I only noticed that for several seconds she seemed almost to be carrying on a silent argument with herself. Yes, we're bringing up the morality of morphing sentient beings, which remains one of the most bullshitty moral arguments in the series. What's worse is that this discussion is initiated by Cassie, who you might remember having acquired Rachel's DNA without permission or even the slightest hesitation. She actually considers Rachel less sentient than a chimpanzee. Why are these two friends again? Why hasn't there been any hesitation in the suggestion of acquiring the sperm whale in the last book, since we know that most sea mammals are sentient even before the Droid brought it up, since we're all aware of the existence of magic talking whales? What's more, Axe starts to question the morality of this. Why does he suddenly give a fuck? He never gave a fuck before. The truck finally reaches the lab, and the Animorphs are transported to a holding room. Cassie starts to demorph to break everyone out, but Visor 3 is there. Visor 3 is always there. He seems that he's personally supervising whatever's going on here. Cassie is unable to morph back in time, so Marco proceeds to throw shit at the Visor, which causes the other chimps to throw shit at the Visor until he retreats. Yes, this has just happened. The Animorphs successfully defeated Visor 3 with chimp shit. There are no words, just expressions of exasperation. So, as you can imagine, this pisses Visor 3 off, but he planned to shut down the lab and destroy all the test animals anyway, so he tells his underlings to bring in the taxons. Why are there taxons here? What exactly is their function in this establishment? Hey, look over there, a distraction! So the Animorphs managed to get out of their cages in time, and Cassie began to open the other chimpanzee cages. "What are you doing?" Marco asked her. "I'm letting them out. You heard what Visitor 3 said. They're going to be killed." "All we have to do is morph to flies and go out through the door," Marco said. "Once the taxons get here, no one is going to count the chimps. But if they get here and find nothing to eat, the Yeerks are going to realize they've been had. They're going to know we were here." "You guys can go," Cassie said. Her eyes flashed. Her jaw muscles worked. They are signs of determination in humans. "Marco's right," Prince Jake said. "We can make a clean getaway. If they realize we've been here, they'll be on guard at the meatpacking plant. It'll make it harder for us." "Not if we stick to chimpanzee morph," Cassie argued. "Yeah, if we went to grizzly bear and tiger and all. But what if we only do chimpanzees?" I looked at Rachel. She smiled. "I'm in." "You always back Cassie," Marco said angrily. Rachel shook her head. "No, I just like the idea of the chimpanzees getting some back, you know." Cassie was already halfway into chimpanzee morph. Rachel was following. I waited to see what Prince Jake would do. "So much for me being in charge," Prince Jake muttered. Then he began to morph. "Yeah, so much for you being in charge. In fact, you know what? I'm taking over this operation and officially demoting you, Jake. I'm sorry, but after that stupid plan with the truck and just letting Cassie get away with this bullshit because you two have added French kissing to your weekly schedule, I cannot allow you in a leadership position anymore. And Cassie, you're fired. You have 15 minutes to pack up your barn and get the hell out of here, you moron." So the Animorphs remorph chimp and grab whatever weapons are available. Luckily, taxons are just circus balloons full of cottage cheese, and the Animorphs as chimps damage them enough to escape the room. Later that night, Axe reflects on what he saw at the lab and wonders if... What? Later that night? Are you serious? One chapter ends with the Animorphs running around the lab trying to get out, and the next chapter begins with the Animorphs having long escaped the lab with no explanation as to how. They escaped off screen. That's bullshit. How did they get past the controllers? How did they get past Visitor 3? How long did it take? How did they know where to go? How'd they get outside? How'd they get past the fence? They couldn't have climbed it because of the deadly force field. The only way out is through the front gate. So how did they get past the front gate? Where did they run to afterwards? Did Visitor 3 realize they were Andalite bandits? They escaped off screen. You don't do that. This is what I mean by poor storytelling. It's clear that Amy doesn't know action because she deliberately avoided writing it and stuck in a stupid anticlimax instead. It's stupid writing is what it is. Shit. But let's move on. Axe reflects on what he saw at the lab and ponders on human cruelty towards animals. At first it seems like we're getting a parallel discussion to the Predators versus Parasite one in number 19, The Departure, only replace parasite with herbivore. There's certainly a discussion there, but unlike number 19, The Departure, the book has no interest in giving us the other side, instead opting to accuse humans of immoral behavior, then discussing whether or not it is immoral. For millions of years, we Andalites have not felt the pressure from other species. With our speed and our tails, we are without physical peers on our homeworld. It is different for humans. There are parts of this planet where even today humans are prey to stronger animals. Perhaps that explains the odd, disconnected human attitudes towards other Earth species. Some they cherish and pamper, some they protect, others they use, still others are annihilated. And yet would it not seem that they would eat the animals that threaten humans and not the utterly inoffensive creatures like cows? We certainly didn't choose such animals for battle morphs. And to abuse chimpanzees, animals almost identical to Homo sapiens, comes very near to a taxon view of morality. First off, I question the taxology of life on the Andalite homeworld. The Hork-Bajir Chronicles confirm that ancient Andalites were prey to predators a long time ago, which is why they ended up evolving their speed and tail blades. Yet not long enough ago to evolve away the Andalite skittishness during sleep. What happened to these predators? Did they become extinct or evolve into something so non-threatening to the Andalites that Axe is qualified to make this observation? It seems unlikely that nothing could possibly pose a physical threat to Andalites on their own homeworld, even a small threat of something getting in a lucky shot. I don't know, maybe the Elmas bloodline had something to do with it. What the hell is taxon morality? Even if we ignore what we learn about taxons in the Analyte Chronicles, nothing about their behavior is in any way connected to morality. Their carnivorous behavior is purely the result of biology, and there is no malice behind it. They have an instinct that is completely overriding any determined morality. What exactly is Axe saying? That human subjugation of animals is purely instinctive to our race, and therefore right and wrong doesn't have anything to do with it? Look, I'm not saying Axe shouldn't question human behavior, but he's never looked at it this deep before, and it's gotten to the point where it's almost out of character for him. And the book is totally on his side. This is unquestionably an anti-animal testing, anti-meat consumption book, which is really hilarious when we get to the end.